Answer the question, Ms. Campbell.
She answered the question.
No, she did not. She said she didn't know those comments. That's not why she gave the money.
Senator.
Can I ask you why she gave the money?
No.
You don't know because she hasn't answered. Are you going to answer, Ms. Campbell, or does this committee not deserve to know why you gave money to a radical who says we are aligned?
Mr. Chairman, I have a lot of other senators have busy days. Can we get on with the next person?
So you don't want an answer to the question either, Senator Booker?
I just want to say for the record,
the question, Ms. Campbell, or do you believe this committee doesn't deserve an answer to that question?
Mr. Chairman,
you're silent. You're just refusing to answer.
Who's next?
The senator's time has expired. If the senator doesn't like the answer,
it's not an answer. She sat there silently and has not spoken. That is, by definition, not an answer.
From
a judge should not be a political activist. Your record demonstrates to me a long history of being a political activist, but not just an activist who affiliates with extreme and radical organizations. A woman who was responsible for killing her one-year-old son, who was coated in fentanyl. His pajamas were coated in fentanyl. His sheets were coated in fentanyl. You could have sentenced her to 30 years. You sentenced her to only 4 years. It's an egregious pattern, but the reason you're put on this panel is the Democrats know that most Republicans will not have time to question you about that terrible record because your colleague on this panel, her record is even worse. Ms. Campbell, I will say I have seen some astonishing nominees from this administration, but I have to admit your record takes the cake. Judge Lopez, I'm going to quickly note there's a reason the Democrats have scheduled you on this panel, because you have a long pattern of sentencing criminal defendants to egregiously light sentences, including one child molester who molested a 4-year-old and 9-year-old, and you sentenced him to only 6 years in prison, including, as we heard before, one...
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we've got some important stuff to talk about today. We're diving into one of the most intense moments I've seen in Congress. Senator Ted Cruz absolutely destroying a woke Biden-appointed judge during a Senate confirmation hearing. This moment is a perfect example of why we need more patriots like Cruz fighting for this country. So, grab your popcorn because we've got some serious patriots calling out the radical left, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the clip by now. Ted Cruz standing firm. We're not talking about minor offenses here. Cruz brought up the case of a child molester who only got a 6-year sentence after molesting 2 children. A 6-year sentence for someone who destroyed the lives of 2 innocent children. And guess what? Lopez was appointed by the left. The same left that wants to coddle criminals and release them into our communities, even as they go after good people who follow the law. This is what happens when the Democrats are in charge. They put people on the bench who don't have the spine to uphold the law or protect American families. It's outrageous. Cruz didn't pull any punches. He called out Judge Lopez's pattern of giving criminals ridiculously light sentences, like the woman who killed her child by coating his pajamas and sheets in fentanyl. Fentanyl, folks. That's what's poisoning our communities, and this judge gave her a slap on the wrist with just 4 years. I mean, what kind of message does that send to our society?
Judge Lopez, I'm going to quickly note there's a reason the Democrats have scheduled you on this panel, because you have a long pattern of sentencing criminal defendants to egregiously light sentences, including one child molester who molested a 4-year-old and 9-year-old, and you sentenced him to only 6 years in prison, including, as we heard before, one woman who was responsible for killing her 1-year-old son, who was coated in fentanyl. His pajamas were coated in fentanyl. His sheets were coated in fentanyl. You could have sentenced her to 30 years. You sentenced her to only 4 years. It's an egregious pattern, but the reason you're put on this panel is the Democrats know that most Republicans will not have time to question you about that terrible record because your colleague on this panel, her record is even worse. Ms. Campbell, I will say I have seen some astonishing nominees from this administration, but I have to admit your record takes the cake. A judge should not be a political activist. Your record demonstrates to me a long history of being a political activist, but not just an activist who affiliates with extreme and radical organizations. Now, when Senator Grassley asked you about the Workers' Dignity Organization, you gave, I think, deliberately misleading answer. You said you did not represent them, and that convinced Senator Grassley not to continue on that line of questioning. You have been a legal advisor to that organization since 2013. That is what you have publicly printed on your AVO biography. It is what has been described in the Tennessee Bar Association when you were nominated. It explicitly says she served as a legal advisor for local workers' rights, nonprofit workers' dignity. Now, why is it you're distancing yourself from them? The reason is because they are utterly radical. If you look at this group that you've served as the legal advisor for over a decade, this is an openly Marxist organization. This is a communist organization. Now, those words are not said lightly. According to their own characterization of their views, this group says there's no election outcome that improves conditions for workers. The laws of this country have never worked for our people, and now that the system is crumbling, we will continue to stand in community and solidarity with each other. The only way we win in a world we deserve is by building a multiracial working class revolution that can push out white nationalism, violent state racism, and the capitalist class that is desperately clutching to hold control and profits as the people rise up. Why have you spent a decade as a legal advisor to an openly communist and Marxist organization? I don't think your microphone's on.
I apologize, Senator. If I could briefly clarify, more than a decade ago, probably for the course of 2 or 3 years, I served on an advisory board that helped this, at the time, was supposed to be a nonprofit workers' rights organization get set up and get started.
Did you know they were a communist organization?
Senator, at that time, they did not express these kinds of views. It was an organization.
So this is new. This wasn't the case then.
Yes, and I have not been affiliated with them in more than a decade.
You're aware that your current profile that you have up, your legal bio, says you are right now an advisor to them.
I apologize for any confusion about that.
So your testimony under oath, and that's all right, the facts will come out, but your testimony, I want to make it explicit. Your testimony under oath is that you have done absolutely nothing and had zero contact with them for how long?
I have not served on their advisory board for...
You've done absolutely nothing and had zero contact with them for how long? Please answer the question.
Many, many years. Senator.
How many?
I don't know, sitting here today. It's been many years.
If you look at other statements from this organization, because they are radicals. They are radicals. If you look also, this is the same group in 2020. They called for abolishing ICE, abolishing prisons and detention centers, and abolishing the police. Why did you volunteer for a communist organization that calls for abolishing ICE and abolishing the police?
Senator, I have never seen these comments before.
You didn't know who you were volunteering for?
I was not a volunteer for them at that time.
You were a legal advisor. Were you paid?
No, I was
Then
not.
you were a volunteer. If you volunteered to be a legal advisor, you were a volunteer. Why did you volunteer? Do you support abolishing ICE?
Senator, at this time, I had...
Do you support abolishing ICE?
I do not, Senator.
Well, it's amazing because a minute ago, you also told Senator Graham that the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition that has a manifesto calling for abolishing ICE, you said you had nothing to do with it, which is fairly astonishing because on page 3 of their manifesto, they thank you by name for what they say. We would like to thank the following individuals and organizations for their thoughtful feedback and input. This platform would not have been possible without their expertise. Are they lying?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that manifesto.
Are they lying? Did you provide any assistance? Did you give feedback and input, which is what they say on the cover page?
Senator, I didn't even know that existed, and so no, I did not provide input on it.
And why, when Senator Graham asked why you gave money to this radical candidate who has said 52 senators are Jim Crow senators and said multiple of us are siding with the devil, you laughed and thought that was funny. But Senator Graham asked you a question. Look, that candidate was as radical as I've ever seen. And when Senator Graham asked why you gave money to that candidate, you just smiled and didn't answer. So why did you give money to a radical candidate who believes multiple members of the Senate are siding with the devil?
Senator,
Actually, Senator Whitehouse, you weren't here before, but there was an exchange with the chairman where Senator Kennedy asked for longer periods because you have two circuit justices, and the chairman said he was going to give additional time. So the comment they want to be gavelled as part of the show is not accurate, and Senator Welch said he was going to give additional time. In fact, he said at the beginning he was going to give 6 minutes. So my question, you did not answer Senator Graham.
Mr. Chairman, how much time has expired? How much time has expired? I just want to clarify. I just walked in.
Why did you give money?
6 minutes? Because it seems like more than 6 has passed.
Why did you give money to this radical? Put up the devil one too. Why did you give money to this radical candidate? $1,500, a lot of money. That's a question.
Senator, again, I'm not familiar with these comments.
Why did you give money to this radical candidate? What? Could you let her answer the question, please?
I'll let her answer, but I thought she did answer. Go ahead.
I'm not familiar with these comments, and
Why did you give money to her? That's the question. You're not going to answer? You're refusing to answer why you gave money to her.
Senator, I'm not familiar with these
That's
comments.
not an answer. My answer is, why did you? What is the affirmative reason? You gave $1,500. There was something you saw in her that you said, this needs $1,500. Why? Please answer that question.
Time has expired.
Would you please ask the witness to answer the question? She's refusing to answer it. It's indefensible, but answer. Was there any reason? Or you just give $1,500 to anyone?
Senator, your time has expired.
I would like her to answer the question. And you said she could answer the question. She has refused to do so multiple times. Please answer the question, Ms. Campbell.
She answered the question.
No, she did not. She said she didn't know those comments. That's not why she gave the money.
Senator.
Can I ask you why she gave the money?
No.
You don't know because she hasn't answered. Are you going to answer, Ms. Campbell, or does this committee not deserve to know why you gave money to a radical who says we are aligned?
Mr. Chairman, I have a lot of other senators have busy days. Can we get on with the next person?
So you don't want an answer to the question either, Senator Booker?
I just want to say for the record,
the question, Ms. Campbell, or do you believe this committee doesn't deserve an answer to that question?
Mr. Chairman,
you're silent. You're just refusing to answer.
Who's next?
The senator's time has expired. If the senator doesn't like the answer,
it's not an answer. She sat there silently and has not spoken. That is by definition not an answer.
It's clear that these left-wing judges don't care about justice or the safety of the American people. Instead, they're more interested in pandering to criminal-friendly policies that are dismantling our justice system. Now, this next part is just as disturbing. Senator Cruz turns his attention to Judge Campbell, and let me tell you, this is where things get really eye-opening. Cruz exposes Campbell's history with a radical Marxist organization called Workers' Dignity. Now let's stop right there. Folks, if you don't know what Marxism is, it's a political theory based on class warfare, the idea that the working class needs to overthrow the so-called capitalist oppressors. It's an ideology that's against everything America stands for: freedom, individual rights, and capitalism. And this judge, this nominee, has been involved with a Marxist group for over a decade. That's not just a red flag, it's a red storm warning. The radical left is working from the inside to push their socialist agenda, and they're using our judicial system to do it. Cruz presses Campbell hard, asking her why she volunteered to be a legal advisor to a group that openly advocates for a working-class revolution. I mean, come on, this isn't a coincidence. This is a radical who wants to tear down everything that has made America great. And when Cruz asked her why she supported a candidate who said that 52 senators are Jim Crow senators, she refused to answer. Folks, these are the kind of people the left is putting into positions of power. Radical ideologues who are more concerned with pushing their own political agendas than actually serving the people. And get this, Campbell tries to claim she didn't know about the radical Marxist views of the group she advised. She says, oh well, they weren't like this back then, and then goes on to deny any recent involvement, even though her current bio clearly states she's still listed as an advisor. Talk about a straight-up cover-up. It's one thing to get caught up in something when you're young, but when you continue to deny the truth, it's downright dishonest. And the worst part is, this is the type of judge the Biden administration is nominating to positions of power in our courts. Then Cruz drops the bombshell. Campbell donated $1,500 to a radical candidate who thinks that some senators are aligning with the devil. Seriously? That's the kind of candidate that the left is supporting? It's a complete disgrace. And she refuses to answer why she gave money to someone like that. What does it say about her judgment? Is she endorsing these radical, divisive ideas? And yet, the left still backs these people. This is what happens when radical left-wing ideologues infiltrate our judicial system. They want to tear down the very fabric of our society. And here's the kicker. Campbell won't even answer Cruz's simple question about why she gave money to a radical candidate. When asked point blank, she gives a non-answer, and even worse, the rest of the Senate committee refuses to hold her accountable. This is what we're up against, folks. A system that's not interested in accountability, transparency, or honesty. It's about pushing a radical agenda at all costs. If we don't have strong patriots like Cruz standing up, we'll continue to see this kind of dishonesty and corruption creep into our system. Let me give credit where credit's due. Ted Cruz stood firm, he didn't back down, and he called out this radical nominee for what she truly is. This is what we need more of. Leaders who will fight for America, who will stand up to the left, and who won't let them dismantle everything this country was built on. And if we don't have people like Cruz holding these judges accountable, then we're looking at a future where the judicial system is just another arm of the radical left. Listen, patriots, this is bigger than just one judge or one hearing. This is a fight for our country, for our values, and for the future of America. The left is working overtime to fill our courts with radicals who want to fundamentally transform this nation into something unrecognizable. But if we stand united, if we keep calling out the truth and pushing back, then we can win this fight. We can make sure America stays the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Do you think Ted Cruz was right to call out these radical judges? Do you believe we're losing the battle for our courts? Hit that like button if you agree with me and share this video to spread the word. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on how we're going to fight back against the radical left. Until next time, stay strong, stay free, and God bless America.